Ross Hodge gets win number 1 in game number 1 to begin his West Virginia coaching career. We got you covered here on Mountaineer Moment. This is the Mountaineer Moment, your source for all things West Virginia football and basketball. From pregame to postgame coverage and breaking news, we've got you covered. Let's go. All right, welcome in, everybody, to episode number 73 of Mountaineer Moment. This one talking about a West Virginia men's basketball win over the Mount St. Mary's Mountaineers by a final score of 70-54. First and foremost, shout out to head coach Ross Hodge and his first of what we're hoping is going to be many, many, many victories at the WVU Hope Coliseum. And thrilled for him, thrilled for these guys to get win number 1 under their belt again in game number 1 against the Mount St. Mary's team that fought hard and for a lot of this played pretty well. We're going to talk about, aside from their turnovers and stuff, we'll talk about some challenges that they gave the Mountaineers, the West Virginia Mountaineers, that is, and then some things that WVU was able to do to prevail. It wasn't the prettiest of wins. It wasn't the best of games, best of performances. I don't think, Ross Hodge is like overly happy, other than the fact that it's a win. There are some things to improve upon. Obviously, you play this kind of game in January or February or March, you're not going to win. You're just not. And thankfully, it's not January or February or March. Thankfully, it is November 4th. And West Virginia, this is something that they can build off of, and it's easier to build off of a win than it is a loss. We'll put it that way. So 70-54. I'm going to give first just my initial reaction, initial thoughts. Game literally just went final. I wanted to do my absolute best, quickest way I could to get this to you, immediately after the game. We're going to talk about the key piece to this Mountaineer victory, and his name was Jasper Floyd. He was absolutely terrific tonight on both ends of the floor. The coach on the floor, player coach, and without him, this literally could be a different outcome without the performance that he put forth. We'll break down the box score in depth, and then we'll talk about just a few different likes and dislikes, some things that you liked seeing, some things that you were a little shaky on after this one or throughout this one in this 70-54 win. But yeah, West Virginia and Mount St. Mary's, it was a 35-29 lead for West Virginia at halftime. Obviously, Mountaineer scored 35 in the second half as well. You don't particularly like, and we'll end with this too, but what West Virginia did as far as, turning the ball over, sloppy play, it was some of the same things we saw in that game against Wheeling in that scrimmage. I mean, box score only shows 9 turnovers for West Virginia. It felt like a little more. Felt like guys were out of sorts and in different spots than they should have been. And a few sequences in a row where you had a few minutes worth of a scoring drought. A few times it looked like the Bob Huggins defense and the offense days back then when you play some good defense, but you go 4 or 5 minutes without scoring. There were a couple stretches where West Virginia went without getting a field goal tonight. They struggled at the free throw line, which we'll talk about. At the free throw line, they got 35 attempts, made 23 of them, 65%. A lot of guys were making 1 out of 2. Honor Huff helped that percentage go up a little bit with his 7 for 7 from the line and his 16 points. But the initial reaction part, this just feels good. It was good to win a basketball game. It was good to see you play against another opponent, and it counts, and it goes in the win column, and you're 1-0 to start a season against the team you should have beaten. But you could feel better about this if you beat them by more. This is a team, they said even on the broadcast, that they were missing 4 or 5 guys who didn't suit up, didn't play in this one. Even one of the key pieces from last year's team that won the conference tournament, made the NCAA tournament, did Mount St. Mary's, and he wasn't there in this game. And yeah, it wasn't pretty. And early November basketball, no matter who you're playing against, often isn't pretty. But the one thing, again, that you can't have taken away from you is the fact that they won this game. So we're going to break down the box score here just a little bit. And again, first and foremost is the performance of Jasper Floyd. He had 25 points in this one. North Texas transfer Jasper Floyd, who we talked about a lot heading into the season, that he was going to have to control this team, control the tempo. He has played under Ross Hodge before, involved in that system at North Texas, offense and defense, knows his way around, knows what he's doing, that kind of thing. And we saw that tonight, and it was necessary. I was thinking more when you get into Big 12 play, how pivotal Jasper Floyd's going to be, as a coach on the floor, quarterback in the offense, that kind of thing. But you needed every bit of that tonight, and he gave it to you. He had 25 points, 4 assists, 5 steals. He made 9 of 13 shot attempts, including 1 3 that he made early. I think it might have been the first score of the game, and knocked down 6 of 9 from the free throw line. So he just controlled the game, and you needed him to do that in every sense of the word. You needed that from him. The other guy that had a strong performance, strong showing for the West Virginia team, I would say, would be Brenen Lorient. Brenen Lorient, also coming from North Texas, great athlete, 11 points, 13 rebounds for him, a couple steals and a block and an assist, 5 for 9 from the floor, connected with Floyd on a couple of different alley-oops, and was very, very active defensively. The one block he had was pretty impressive. 13 rebounds to lead the team by far, almost half the team rebounds. Team only had 29 rebounds. Mount St. Mary's team had 38, so that's like, whoa, okay. A lot of that's because West Virginia was missing a lot of shots early. That rebound margin really stayed the same throughout the second half. I'd love to see that. I don't think they were beat by much, if at all. But Mount St. Mary's led in the rebounding department from the get-go. In a 70-54 win for West Virginia, Brenen Lorient shined. He really did. He played very well, and you're just going to need him, again, and Jasper Floyd to continue to do that all season long. Obviously, West Virginia was without Chance Moore, who, if you've been here on Mountaineer Moment, you know I am very big on him. He's going to be sitting for the next 4 games now, as part of his settlement with the NCAA. Jackson Fields, the Troy transfer, hopefully going to get him back here in a couple weeks with a wrist injury. Hopefully going to get him, which will help things too. But I just felt like, and I don't think anyone else would disagree, I think you watched in this game, it was the North Texas guys, and if they don't show up, you might not win. Jasper Floyd showed up. Brenen Lorient showed up, offense and defense. I mean, again, I mentioned Jasper Floyd's numbers offensively, but he set the tone defensively, causing several turnovers that we saw from Mount St. Mary's. Mount St. Mary's had 20 turnovers on the day. They knocked down 5 threes. Did Mount St. Mary's. Trey DeVoe had 15 points. Xavier Lipscomb, who we talked about, really did put up pretty solid numbers, which is kind of what he does. Kind of a stat sheet stuffer is Xavier Lipscomb. He had 8 points, 9 boards, 5 assists, and 4 steals to go along with 6 turnovers. So he stuffed the stat sheet in that department too. But he was a factor for them, and Trey DeVoe as well. So that's the good. Brenen Lorient, Jasper Floyd. Honor Huff, 3 of 12 from the field, 3 of 11 from beyond. Had some good looks, didn't quite knock him down. Had a couple threes that you're like, whoa, like that's an impressive shot. The first 3 he knocked down, he'd catch and release so fast in transition from the left wing and just knocked it down. He had 16 points, did Honor Huff, and you just know he's going to start knocking down shots more often. You just know that. The disappointments, if you can qualify it as that, it's just one game in the starting lineup were the 2 guys we haven't mentioned. Harlan Obioha, the big man, transfer from UNCW, had 5 points and 2 rebounds. That's not going to cut it. You're going to need more out of him, obviously, but he struggled tonight. And then Trayson Eaglestaff, who struggled pretty significantly in that scrimmage against Wheeling. If you caught it, if you didn't, just trust me, he struggled, and he struggled again tonight. 0 of 3 from the field, just 1 point when he got fouled shooting a 3, and he made 1 out of the 3 free throws. 3 boards for him, 1 assist. Trayson Eaglestaff, something I mean, it's one game, but again, you have the context of that scrimmage. Something seems off. Something's not right. And I mentioned after the scrimmage, I don't know if it's just the fact that he's so used to being the guy, where he comes from, North Dakota. I mean, I don't remember exact number I said, but he had like 150 more shot attempts than the second closest on the team. And now that's just not going to be the case here in Morgantown. So he's learning to adjust, learning to figure things out, but he's struggling. And, in that secret scrimmage against Maryland, the report is that he went off. And I'm not going to sit here and be like, I don't believe it, right? Because we saw the box score, at least from a few of those guys. But, man, the two games, one being a scrimmage and one being the season opener that we've been able to watch, Trayson Eaglestaff has not looked comfortable, has not played well. That's just the reality of it. DJ Thomas, freshman. We've been thinking about, okay, what freshman is it going to be that's going to step up? Well, DJ Thomas played pretty well tonight for his first game, 7 points, 3 of 6 from the floor, 1 rebound, 1 assist, 1 steal. Amir Jenkins, quiet but played a good bit. He was actually on the floor a little bit with Jasper and Honor Huff. There was a 3-guard lineup in that fashion that was interesting that we saw a couple times. Morris Ugasuk, transfer from South Carolina, knocked down a 3, one of his 3 3-point attempts, and collected 3 rebounds and 4 points for him. So that's how it looks as to how West Virginia got their 70 points. Again, holding Mount St. Mary's to 54. I think like the betting lines, West Virginia did not cover. I saw it was like 16.5 earlier, and then it was like 19.5. So obviously did not get that with the 16-point win. And I mean, this was with, I don't know, around the final TV timeout in the second half. This was a 6-point game. Mount St. Mary's, benefited from, just a couple free throws and getting the ball back and scoring again. And so this was a game. It was never like you're sitting there watching like, oh no, West Virginia Mountaineers are going to lose this thing. But Mount St. Mary's hung around a little bit. They hung around a little bit. The 16-point win that West Virginia got to was actually their largest lead of the game. So that puts things in perspective here, right? This was not a 25-point game that Mount St. Mary's took down to a 16-point game when the West Virginia starters were on the bench. That's not the case at all. 16 points is the largest Mountaineer lead, and it just so happens to be what they won the game by. So that's a look at the box score. Again, I think I'll say thank you to Jasper Floyd and Brenen Lorient, but Jasper Floyd especially with what he did to just lead this team. Again, we mentioned it, how important it's going to be for him to lead the team tempo-wise, control the pace, be the captain offensively, get guys in the right spots, and set the tone defensively, because he did that from the get-go. He got a 5-second call in the second half, I think, just with high-quality pressure on a ball handler, and then forced an over and back really, really, really early in the first half. So Jasper Floyd set the tone, and we're going to need more of that. And again, it's sound like a broken record or what, but because of Trayson Eaglestaff and his struggles, because Honor Huff, now he got going a little bit, obviously finishing with the 16 points that he had, but didn't shoot it particularly well. You needed Jasper Floyd. You just needed him to do what he did. And even the Mountaineer announcers were saying, he's a guy, obviously he only averaged 9 points at North Texas last year, but if you need him to score, he can score. And if you need him to do what he did tonight, he can do what he did tonight. And you needed what he did. And thank goodness that he stepped up and made it happen. So, again, real quick, just a few likes and dislikes. Obviously, Jasper Floyd, Brenen Lorient, the North Texas guys, that's something you like to see. Dislike, Harlan Obioha, and again, Ross Hodge mentioned at halftime in his, in the report with him that, he was getting double teamed and was making the right moves and right passes. And I get that. I saw that too. But for him to only have, a couple rebounds, that's not ideal. Yeah, 2 rebounds for him, 5 points. And I think, all of his points came from the free throw line. So you're talking about a guy who has a size advantage on just about everybody. Struggled tonight. He didn't get a whole lot of touches inside either. I get that. And he's going to be off the floor for quite a bit. Brenen Lorient even stepped up, him and DJ Thomas playing the 4 and the 5. Obviously, we'll probably see that some more this year. But Eaglestaff and Obioha, not that all 5 starters always have to be on every single game, have their best game, but this just wasn't it. And we're banking on them to be better. And I believe that they will, right? I mean, Trayson Eaglestaff, kid averaged 19 points a game last season. I don't care what school you go to, averaging 19 points a game, you can fill it up. Harlan Obioha, averaged, decent points and rebounds at UNCW last year, an NCAA tournament team. Definitely have faith in him. He's worked tremendously hard to get in shape for this season, and, you believe in him too. So those are just some things that you kind of notice. The ones that kind of stick out. Again, I think DJ Thomas he goes in the department for tonight's performance because he was pretty good for his first game as a college player. I was curious as to why Jaden Forsyth didn't play. He was dressed out, freshman, did not play. Obviously, we saw Amir Jenkins and DJ Thomas, but no Jaden Forsyth tonight, which I thought was interesting. Needless to say, it was an ugly win, but it's November 4th, and you're going to have ugly wins. You have a whole new collective of players, new coaching staff, all of that, and this is game number 1. And the good thing is you won game number 1. Could you have won? Could it have looked better? Absolutely. Should it have looked better? Absolutely. Could certain players have played better? Absolutely. It's an ugly win, and this is my immediate reaction here, episode 73 of Mountaineer Moment. There'll be a few more even, just talking about this game and looking ahead to the next as we continue in the non-conference play for West Virginia basketball that is back, and they're 1-0. Ross Hodge, again, shout out to him. Super thrilled for him and this coaching staff and this team. Because you got to start somewhere, and we started with the win. So let's go Mountaineers. That'll do it for this episode 73 of Mountaineer Moment. YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, wherever you're watching, wherever you're listening, wherever you are tuned in, be sure to hit that subscribe button for us. Toss a like, leave a comment. Love interacting with everybody in the comment section. And we'll see you next time on Mountaineer Moment.